Hi to all. It is just 8:30, and as I'm sit like a Swiss clock, I'm here just on time for tonight for our new session. And again, I'm very thankful to you for being here again tonight. I've been missing you, so it's been 2 weeks, as last week my wee bro got married and was the wedding, so I had a great time, so it was a good time. A bit tiresome, as any wedding of course, but we had a good time, and I'm now happy to be back home and back to those habits and routines where I can see you, every weekend. Hi Rachel. Hi our other guest, as I see we are 3 for now, and so yeah, I'm happy to be back. And those 2 weeks gave me a good occasion to ponder the themes and the stuff we would address here this week and subsequent weeks also. So for today, you probably do not know what I would like to discuss, as I did not really take the time to advertise on social media what I would discuss. Hi, Blogger School. Hi, g'day, good evening. So I did not, like I said, I did not advertise on social media. So there was no big announcement of what I'm discussing with you tonight and what type of questions I'm answering tonight and tomorrow with my French audience. So why did I not advertise on social media? Actually, I really contemplated doing it, but I understood that those different platforms are very, let's say, very conservative to some extent. That is, they are restricting users to themselves, so that when you're on a platform, it's not recommended advertising a different platform. And hi, Fuad Peter. Nice to see you again tonight. Thank you very much for coming back. So I was just saying, for the first couple of streams, I did indeed advertise on Instagram, on TikTok, on X, and I understood that all this is penalized by the algorithm, so that it is not just is it useless, it is also counterproductive. Just advertising on a platform for something I'm doing on Twitch penalizes my entire activity on that platform and penalizes that particular post. So it is sort of turning around in circles, where I need to make my live streams known, but I cannot make them known on those other platforms I'm using. So it is an adventure in itself. So I will find a way. I will find a way of not just advertising, but making it known to others that I'm here to answer questions, that I'm here to help, I'm here to share my experience with whoever would like to have some insights, but also I'm here to share your own experience. I know that using just the chat is not always easy, but it's always a nice experience, a nice way of sharing with others. where you can type what you've gone through and how you have liked or disliked this or that. So it can be interactive, like I mentioned in the past, and as I'm doing today again. Those streams are supposed to be interactive. Of course, I'm the one sort of doing the talking, but ideally it should not be a lecture. It should be a conversation and interaction with you. And of course, in case we are dry, I've got some stuff I can share, or I'm happy to share with you. But this is sort of an excuse for interactions with you, where I'm more than happy to start with your own questions, your own concerns, your own experience, etc. So that's it. So hi for our new guests. I see that another 2 people have just joined. Welcome for tonight. So this is where I'm at, and before we we discuss this thing I think is interesting, which is the role of the supervisor and how to manage the relationship to the supervisor. I would like just to share a few things with you that are not totally related. I started very recently. I started one training on entrepreneuring on Instagram, and I started about 2 weeks ago now, and it is interesting. I'm learning a lot of things on Instagram, on TikTok, on those things, and I've started posting things every day on both platforms, Instagram and TikTok, posting alternatively on dissertation related matters, plus other matters relating to AI use. Well, some of you who follow me otherwise may know that I've progressively been shifting from mere academic life to AI entrepreneurship. So I'm about to launch my own business, which will provide higher education with AI-powered tools. Hi, JC. I think I know who you are. So AI-powered tools, and I dove deep into AI in the past 10 months. I also took a training on AI for the technical part of it. So I've been posting every day short videos on Instagram and TikTok. And funnily enough, I've got one video on TikTok which has been sort of successful. I mean, successful as per my own standards, as I'm new to TikTok, so I think it's been 3 weeks or something. I've got a video that has had more than 1,000 views, I think, and every day I've got more and more people following me because of that video, which is saying this. And it's relating to what I was saying before with the tools on which I've been working for higher education. So the video started as such, saying, well, when you speak of AI and automation in the first place, when you hear of it in the first place, you think it's very difficult, not for you. But suddenly you view videos on YouTube or you read posts on LinkedIn where people say, oh, with this tool, String, for instance, it's very easy. You just write a prompt and suddenly, within a few seconds, you've got your automation ready to go. And then you think, oh, great, easy. And when you get into it, then you realize that no, it's not as easy as they say. it is terribly hard, and you spend hours, you spend days on just one line of code which you in the first place do not understand, and the software is saying no, error, error, error. And then you try to understand, you read a lot, and you try to fix things without being able to read. It's as if you were trying to correct a text written in Chinese without knowing anything about Chinese language. So it is very hard. But at some point, when you start understanding how it goes, oh yes, that's true, it's easy. It was easy. Yeah. So this short video, which was 30 seconds, I think, has been quite successful to my surprise, and to my pride as well, and of course as per my own standards, as I know that there are many other people on TikTok who have thousands or hundreds of thousands of views, but for this one I'm quite happy, quite satisfied. So so this video was proceeding from a willingness to share behind the scene experience with automation when you do stuff with AI. Is it easy? Oh, yes, it is. Once you are into it, once you know how it works, once you know how to use it, once you have good command of it, oh, yes, it is easy. Otherwise, hard. So, another couple of things which can be of interest is that you might know that I've been working on a tool enabling to assist students' dissertations, master's thesis, and I, in the first place, thought that it could be useful just for students needing feedback in the middle of summer when their supervisors are absent or on holidays and not responding. And you know, this is the connection with tonight's theme, by the way. So, and I really thought it would be for students. And when I speak with university deans of where I'm at, what I'm currently doing, when I'm giving them an update, they immediately see an interest for their institutions. So that I've got a couple of institutions in 3 or 4 countries that are keen on testing, you know, partaking in the testing stage, and potentially subscribing to my tools, to my technologies once they are ready to go. And an update is that my tool was ready in the summer, as you may know, and in the summer it was able to assess dissertations that were below 25,000 words, and only if the document that was submitted was in docx format, which means that there were 2 big constraints. Thank you very much for that, Peter. So there were 2 big constraints. This tool is still running, and I'm nearly done with the improved version, which processes documents of any size, any length, plus supposedly processes PDF files. For now, I still have 2 minor glitches. One glitch is that the email the student is supposed to receive does not recognize the student's first name, and it lacks some politeness or some friendliness in at the beginning. And the second glitch I still have is sort of minor, but it's that the headings in the email are not aligned with the language of the email itself, as depending on whether you submit in French or in English. So it's 2 minor glitches, but annoying enough. So I'm still working on them, but I'm nearly there. I'm really there. It's just a matter of reading the code, understanding where the error exactly is, and fixing it. Just do it, as my supervisor would tell me when I was doing my PhD. So again, we're speaking of the supervisor. So hi to our new guests. So welcome back for tonight. And so as you see, I've spoken quite a bit of my supervisors without even speaking of the dissertation so far, which means that the supervisor is someone with a great influence on your life. At least for me, it has been the case. Let's say that I have had supervisors for my master's thesis. Honestly, I have not kept in touch with him, and I'll tell you why. And I've had then a supervision committee with 3 supervisors for my PhD, and I've been in touch with them I've known them for now 20 years. Yes, 20 years. I defended 16 and a half years ago, and we're still in touch. We've become friends now. And they've always told me things that still influence me nowadays. Within or out with academia. Hi, guest. Welcome. So let's get back to the first one with my master's thesis. Why haven't we kept in touch? I would say we have not kept in touch because when I did my master's with a thesis, it was my third master's. There was a thesis to write. In the first 2, there was none. So my third master's, we were about 15 in the cohort or something, and the program director was supervising all thesis. Supervising. It's a big word. So from afar, at a distance. So he did not really show a real interest in our work. He was not very helpful as such, and it was a bit distant. So it was more of a master-disciple relationship than a supervisor-supervisee relationship. So we didn't really keep in touch with him as students. But interestingly, I've kept in touch with a number of students I have supervised, whose master's thesis, even before I speak of the doctoral thesis, whose master's thesis I have supervised in the past 20 years. And funnily enough, yesterday I received a WhatsApp message from one of them, of whom I was thinking recently, and who said to me, would you be available soon so we can have a chat? And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to text him and say, would you be available to have a chat soon? And that's interesting, such a chemistry. And another one, she is, so she's now doing arts. So she's in art school after she did a master's degree in Grenoble, and where I supervised a master's thesis. And yesterday she was exhibiting, so starting an exhibition, and it was her preview. And she messaged me and said to me, if you're available, I'd be more than happy to see you at the preview. I said, well, I'm really sorry. I think it was on the train yesterday. I said, I'm really sorry. I'll be on the train back to Rouen. Had I known before, then I would have organized myself differently, and I would have been more than happy to attend. So it is a long-term relationship, I would say, and over time it becomes a friendship. So it's more than just professor and student. It's something different. So I said early on that one of my supervisors was saying, "Just do it, just do it." Yeah. But more interesting, I think, for tonight is that my French supervisor, so I owe so much to him, my French supervisor said to me, well, supervision is like parenting. It is accompanying your students towards autonomy, like a parent who is upbringing their children to enable them to be independent in the future. The supervisor is here to enable you to be independent, academically independent, and also professionally independent. And and I've always loved this this view of supervision, so that I remember that a couple of years back I wrote an article on LinkedIn which was saying that indeed it's supervision, when I was the director of the 𝐏𝐈𝐂𝐊𝐿 College Management Doctoral School, saying that yes, supervision is like parenting, and your doctoral students are like your children. You're protecting them, even if they're wrong. In public, you are defending them. In private, you can tell them off if need be, and you go with them until they leave the nest, which is once they have defended, then they leave the nest, they leave home, and then you feel a gap in your life, really. And at times they call you, they give you an update. You're very happy, and also wrote you prepare their bedroom, you make their bed just in case they pop in, which does not happen too often. But when they're here, they find their bedroom as it was before, and it's always a great pleasure. So this is more or less what I wrote, which also resulted in something, well, funny to me, maybe not for you, which was that before I quit Grenoble, we had a cohort of doctoral students, DBA students, and everybody introduced themselves, and nearly everybody had children. And I do not have children personally, but what I said is that I've got children, just not sure about the exact number. So they were a bit suspicious and said, yes, well, my doctoral students are all my children, and I'm not sure exactly how many of them, if it was in total 14 or 15, I'm sorry. And then I think I was asked who the mother was, and I said, well, I was a single parent most of the time, and it was good. It was good, but also I enjoyed co-parenting, co-supervising. So I think some of you have gone through co-supervision with me or with someone else. So no, I've liked it. It was I would not say interesting, because interesting means very little, but it was a nice experience. A nice experience where you have to compromise, where you have to understand each other, where you have to adjust after each other. So, I wanted then to say something else, which is on just before I speak of the types or styles of supervisors, where I identified 3. Just a few words on let's say on their interest or disinterest in supervision, and why. and where there is a big challenge for higher education institutions. Some of you might have noticed that it's a bit difficult finding a supervisor, finding the right supervisor, and you're not always happy with how the supervision goes. You have expectations which are legitimate, and the supervisor is not always up to your standards. And this might cause big disappointments, big frustration at your end, but also at the supervisor's end, who is a bit upset to see that things are not going so smoothly as he or she was expecting or hoping for. And how come? So how come is that, well, actually, there has been in the past 15 years a big growth in higher education and a dramatic increase in student numbers and the number of academics. So hi, new guest. The number of academics was not growing as fast, so that there were more and more students to supervise, and in total it was more and more students per academic staff member. So mathematically, supervision quality has declined as supervisors did not have the same amount of time for each student as they did in the past, as they had to deal with more students. That's one thing. Another thing is also that academics are assessed on their publications, and there is a tendency to only do stuff that enables you to publish. So that when I was at Grenoble, I was supervising a number of master's theses and doctoral dissertations because I loved it. This was my favorite activity, much more than teaching. So I really love this mentoring. I will discuss a wee bit later. But I realized when I was in charge of the end of studies dissertation, I realized that more than half of my colleagues would not supervise master's thesis because there is no academic leverage on those theses. So those theses are time consuming, students are demanding, and the academic return was, as per their standard, low, limited. So rather not. And this means that some were strongly encouraged to supervise. In some schools, there is an obligation on your job description, an obligation to supervise a certain number of students each year. And when people are obligated or feel obligated, the outcome is really satisfactory. The outcome is really good, irrespective of the students. But when you force people to do something, when they do it reluctantly, they do not do it too well, and students can feel it. So this is a big dilemma for institutions. Then you have some institutions that have tried to fix the problem by deciding that each academic staff member would teach a methodology course with a number of students and would eventually supervise all those theses within the group, which means that one group, one methodology course with 15 students results in 15 supervisions. And here too, the outcome is not too good. Not too good. And this was sort of an attempt at fixing the problem I mentioned. Now, there's a shortage of academic staff for supervision. But also, there is something else which is sort of interesting, a behind the scene thing, which is that, sorry, I just need to drink for a sec. So, supervision is also something very costly for schools or for universities, and they're trying to optimize their cost. How come it is costly? When you consider a master's student, supervision costs with superannuation, etc., on average it costs €1,000 per student. So supervising is about €1,000 per student. Imagine when the school has 1,000 students, master's students who need a supervisor, it means €1 million each year. This is when you do one-to-one. So schools have been paying very well so as to attract academic staff for supervision. Then they've realized that it was very costly, so now they're trying to find ways of reducing those costs, such as, like I said, achieving economies of scale through those large cohorts of students supervised by one person. But all this, it is at the expense of quality and student satisfaction. And this is also where and why my tools could help. My tools are really here to support student experience and student success, especially at a time where schools and universities are under big pressure. So sorry, I'm just advertising myself, but I know that I can do it here, so I will do it without feeling too shy. So sorry. With supervision, in the past few weeks, I mentioned the quest for a supervisor and the types of supervisors people or students tend to seek for, and I've noticed very often that students who let's say I've noticed that students who are driven by academic excellence and who are driven by outcomes, they want the best possible result, they want the best possible marks, etc. So for Peter, was the optimal balance between intellectual independence and supervisory direction. Okay, so I'm getting there. Slowly. If you do not mind, it is something I will discuss soon. Soon. I will discuss. I do not know how soon, but I'm planning on discussing this precisely. I'm intending to address this. You're welcome. So when a student is driven by academic excellence, very often he or she wants the expert on the topic. And it is, when you're a program director, it is very hard making them accept the idea that the expert on their topic is perhaps not the best person for them. They then think you are underestimating them, that you are not understanding them, and they try to prove you're wrong, or they try to prove that their point is right and that they must have this person. You then have other students who want someone with whom they can engage in a conversation on their topic, with whom they can really discuss, and with whom they can make progress. So someone open to their ideas, and not necessarily an expert at their topic. They do not care, but someone who expresses an interest in them and an interest in their work or what they want to do. And this is where I'm slowly getting to your question, Peter. And I will perhaps be long at answering your question, but I think the path is needed to get there. So I was saying, about the words expert. They're not necessarily the best supervisors, honestly. It does not mean they're bad, but they're not always. They're not always the best ones for a number of reasons. One reason is that they might be very good at their niche and at publishing on their niche, but perhaps not very interested in mentoring students, perhaps not really available for students, because this requires patience. So you need to be patient, and I will get back to this while answering your question, Peter. So they're not necessarily the best ones for that first reason. Another reason is that at times, and it's quite it's unfortunately quite often the case, but often you have experts who know that they are experts in their area and who have a huge ego, and when it is the case, they really do not want to bother supervising students they do not choose by themselves. So they do not really want to feel obligated to supervise students who did not do their master's program and students they selected. So in this case, it's hard. Hi, new guests. Welcome for tonight, and thanks for joining. So that's where indeed they're not necessarily the best possible fits, and what my own style has always been, as a supervisor and as a program director, this. As a supervisor, I do not claim any expertise. I do not really like being considered an expert as anything, because it makes you fit within a box, and then I would feel sort of imprisoned as in a cage, and I do not like this. So for those who know me well, I like my freedom, I like my independence, and being associated with one niche expertise is too narrow for me. I like variety, I like challenges, I like addressing things that are new to me, I like expanding my understanding of this world through new themes, new interests. So I claim to be a generalist more than an expert, which has big implications. I supervise students because they have a topic or an idea which is original, something unique, and for which they would like someone who could be receptive. So by default, I like anything unusual. So I remember I mentioned in the past, not last week, but last time, I remember I mentioned dissertations on, or thesis on the Olympics, so on e-sport, on sexism at work, and there were many others, and even in marketing. It's camp aesthetics. So anything which is very unusual and where experts would perhaps not be interested for whatever reason, or where there are no known experts, or where people think, it's too risky, or it's not mainstream enough, all those are of interest to me, which has a big implication. And this implication is that as a supervisor, I assume that you guys, you students, are the experts, not me. So you are the expert at your own theme, at your own topic. And I'm here to help you do research. I'm here to help you achieve as high as possible in your area of expertise. And I learn from you. You're learning from me, let's say, academic rigor, methodology, reflexivity, etc. I'm learning from you contents. So this is a two-way relationship, a real intellectual exchange, and therefore I'm not interested in supervising someone exactly doing what I'm doing, because it means that I'm not learning anything or not much from the students. It's not a two-way relationship, it's just one way, where I give both direction on methods and contents, and do not receive much intellectual food, or food for thought, as you would say. So this is my view. Of course, not everybody is reacting like me, and indeed there are a number of academics who do not want to supervise someone who is not exactly in their niche. And I've seen many, and it is very hard assigning students to them, even when students want to work with that person, and that person say, no, he or she is not exactly in my niche, so I'm not doing this. For instance, someone working on, and I'm sorry if I'm always taking the same example, but you may smile, I hope, someone working on corporate governance in family business might not be supervised by someone who is the expert at corporate governance in listed companies. And when you ask this expert if he could help, so no, you understand, I'm dealing with large businesses, with listed companies. I know absolutely nothing about family business. So realistically, I can't supervise this work. This would be dishonest to the students, as I'm not the expert. I do not know how fair they are when they say this, but some indeed only want to deal with their very niche. Some others, like me, are more than happy to get out with their area of expertise, if I can say so. And I've not forgotten about your question, Peter. I'm getting there. This takes me to okay. So I'll try to answer your question now, and then there are other things that will bring as compliments. So, what is the optimal balance between intellectual independence and supervisory direction? So, I will answer one thing in the first place. It's very easy. There is no known optimal balance. So, what is the optimal balance? No idea. This said, and I know that if I say this, you will be frustrated, not really satisfied, and you'll be right, not being satisfied. So, what is the balance? Indeed, here the thing is that indeed the question behind this one is, what is the role of the supervisor and what is his or her influence on your own thinking? What is his or her influence on your choices? So this is what I understood from your question. Did I get you right, Peter? If I got you right, then I can continue. If I missed the point, please correct me. Okay, so here there are here I am. It's okay. I understood correctly. It is a very, very sensitive matter, as it all depends on chemistry that happens between the student and the supervisor. This means that both must be on the same page when it comes to supervision style and expectations. That is, you have, and I'll get back to this a bit later. You've got some supervisors who are very directive and say, you want to work on this, so you must do this, you must do that, blah, blah, blah. Or this is interesting, this is not interesting. And when you do this, you must do that. And being, like I said, very directive. And this can work with students needing someone very directive. Students who either are not able to take initiatives, academic initiatives, or students who are not self-confident enough to make their own choices and take full responsibility for those choices and decisions, and prefer relying on the explicit guidance and direction given by the supervisor. If both are on the same page, that's fine. There is then another style which is as follows. A supervisor, and you will know where I am, so where the supervisor is more here to help the student articulate their own idea and help the student deliver their own piece of work. So something which is not the supervisor's work or the supervisor's ideas, but the students. This requires that the student be independent, that the student be able and eager to make his or her own choices and take full responsibility for those. If for whatever reason the student is not comfortable with this, then whilst the supervisor is on this mode, then there is a mismatch, and this is where there can be some problems at some stage. And here I can share a few experiences. Sorry, when I was supervisors. I'm still a supervisor, by the way. But when I'm supervising students, master students or doctoral candidates, well, I suppose you bet where I am. I'm much more into helping a student deliver their own ideas. I'm one of those people considering that the student is the expert at their topic, not me, so that I endeavor not to be directive. I'm always cautious to make sure that I understand what the student wants to do. I'm always cautious to make sure that the student idea is clear, that I understood the idea, that I understood their interest, and I'm doing with my students Socratic work, whereby I'm constantly questioning them. Always, each time we talk, nearly always asking the same questions, which does not mean that I have forgotten what they told me before, which does not mean that I'm not interested in what they're saying from one time to the other, but I assume that their thinking evolves and that their answers will be different or more articulate, more detailed over time, the answers to the same questions. So I'm here to ask questions, to help them ask themselves the right questions, and I have some experience enabling me to identify what is promising, what is not promising, something which has been abundantly done and which is now subject to a full agreement, big consensus, and no real debates, is probably not really worth investigating as planned, but differently. And then I'm trying to look with my students for what they would like to do and how else they could do it. And I'm trying to see also what is feasible based on their interests. And today, it is very recent, so it was, no, it was not today, sorry, it was yesterday. Yesterday I spoke with a new student of mine. She is doing a master's thesis at 𝐿𝐴 on, and this is where it's not too clear to me, it is on something with Shein, so related to Shein, the Chinese fast or ultra fast fashion brand, and it is not too clear to me what she exactly wants to do. So really, so we spoke for 40 minutes, and I just asked her, okay, so you're interested in e-commerce, consumer perception of something related to e-commerce, and you want to deal with Shein. But tell me more, not about the context and what Shein is about, but about what you want to investigate. What is of real interest to you? So that we are speaking of the same things, so that I understand the same things as you when you say what you want to do. To be honest, after 40 minutes, I was not clear. I was not clearer than before. So we're talking again tomorrow on Sunday, so as to hopefully clear what she wants to do. So I suggested she should clarify what is of interest to her when she says, I'm interested in e-commerce platform perception. Okay, I'm not sure what you want to do, because she also spoke of full management control. How consumer perceives full management control on e-commerce platforms. No idea what this means. And I said, well, management control, I'm sorry, it relates to management accounting. That's probably not what you want to do. I do not think it is. If it is, please tell me more so I really understand. And here, I have no idea what you mean. And I asked her, are you interested in consumer experience from the beginning? So from placing the order until you receive it at home? Are you interested in brand perception, how the consumers perceive Shein as a brand? Are you interested in how they perceive the ease with which they can browse the website or the app or something? So I wanted to understand more what she wanted to do. So she was not clear at the time, and therefore we're talking again tomorrow, hoping that she will have clarified what she wants to do. So we've got this, and I also remember a case where I was supervising a DBA doctoral thesis. Initially, the student was driven to me because he wanted to deal with God on the workplace, and as my works have dealt with religious matters, the program director thought that it could be a good fit. I have tried. There has never been a big match between the two of us, but I've tried. And actually, at the end of the day, he changed his topic a few times to deal with something totally unrelated, and at some stage decided that I was not directive enough and wanted someone giving him directions with clear deadlines nearly day by day, saying on Monday you're doing this, on Tuesday you're doing that, blah blah blah, which is not me. So I would say I can't. I've never really tried, but it's so much against my own nature that I do not know if I would be good at doing something like this. I'm not sure at all, as my own style is nearly the opposite, where for those who know me, where I'm telling my students the following, and those of you who have worked with me hopefully can confirm, or if I'm illusioned, please tell me. So I'm always telling my students, I'm not a directive person. And this has a number of implications. The first implication is that I will never tell you what to do. I'll never tell you, you do this, you do that, blah, blah, blah. On the contrary, I will always try to make sure I do understand what you want to do, what your interest is. So everything I've been saying for a few minutes. Another big implication is that I will never run after you to know where you're at. But, and it is a big but, I will always make myself available for you anytime you need. So anytime you need, so you drop me an email, I respond within 1 and 24 hours. I know that for one of you, I can see here, or I think it's here tonight, it took me 2 days, and I apologize. I breached my own code of honor by responding within 48 hours and not 24 maximum, but I respond between 1 and 24 hours in an email, so as much detailed feedback as I can based on what the student sends me, either as written material or as questions. And then anytime they need us to talk, we talk. And like I said, tomorrow on Sunday, I'm talking to a student she needs to talk, and we can talk tomorrow. So available when students need. My philosophy on this is, and it's not everybody's philosophy, to be honest. My philosophy is that if a student for their thesis contacts you as a supervisor with questions, or if they need feedback, it means that I would not say it is urgent. For me, emergency can wait, right? So it does not mean that it's urgent. It means that they're stuck, that without your response, they cannot progress. And the longer they wait, the less time they will have to make progress, because the deadline is approaching, or the more anxious they will be, or else the more likely they are to make the wrong decisions. So to try to take some wrong initiatives at some point. And I do not want my students to be in this situation where they're on hold for too long. Whence my response within 1 and 24 hours. So they're stuck as short as possible. And then, if they need us to talk, we talk. This is my own approach, my philosophy. And like I said, this is a consequence or an implication of the fact that I'm not a directive person. I'm available. And a third consequence of this is that I never impose deadlines on students. Never. I'm always telling them this. You have your own constraints, which you know and which I do not know. So we will see together what deadline seems realistic to you. And the deadline is indicative, certainly not imperative. It is a roadmap. It means if everything goes as planned, around this date I should have this. And I prefer receiving something after the day, but with which you are happy enough so we can discuss and we can work on this basis, rather than something arriving on the day, but with which we cannot do anything because it is incomplete, because it's been done in haste or whatsoever. But of course, if at some point you know that you will miss this indicative deadline by very much, please let me know as soon as you can, so that we can readjust. Not just the deadline, it's not just a matter of postponing. It is a matter of also rethinking the way of working, so that let's say postponing a deadline will not result in cumulative delays, but if you need to move a deadline at some point, we might need to do things differently so that you're not late and you're not in a hurry at the end of the day or at the end of the process. So I know, and I'm not, doing too much of self-promotion, but I know that this approach is not the most common, not the most common in supervision. I know many colleagues who, as a matter of principle, refuse to take calls, or to have calls with students at night or on weekends. I prefer avoiding nights. Weekends are fine, but nights not really. So refuse to have calls on weekends. I also know of many colleagues who take a long time when they respond to students. When I say a long time, it means that some may take weeks to respond. I remember a couple of situations where I had a student I was co-supervising, and I was responding within 1 and 24 hours, but we were sort of on hold because the co-supervisor was taking their time to respond, and then it could last. I remember that once it lasted for nearly a month with no response. So I had to sort of hassle my colleagues. Like, okay, can you please share your feedback so we can move on with the student? And this is because, like I said early on, supervisions are not their priority, unfortunately. It is not their priority. So that's a shame, but that's a terrible truth. I know that based on this, I have partly answered your question, Peter, only partly. I would like to mention there was something else that I started saying, which was on what I did when I was a program director, and what I encouraged when I was the director of the doctoral school. I'm convinced that the most important thing is the personality match. There must be a good fit between the supervisor and the student. So each time I was to assign a supervisor to a student, I was trying to make sure I knew the student enough. So it was, of course, always superficial because it was happening at the early stages in the program, but that I knew enough about the student, that I had spoken long enough with the student so as to understand who he or she is, and how he or she reacts to things, and what he or she wants. And then I needed to also know my colleagues very well so as to identify the best possible fit. So someone who is a student who is not very independent and needs strong guidance, and someone very directive, I would look for someone directive but someone patient. So you can have people who are directive and not very patient, and then it would not work. So I've always tried to make sure that there would be a good fit between people, between personalities, so that it can work. It can work very well. To be honest, I'm quite happy with the results. So far, I think I've made just one error. I think, yes, there was just one error with two people who did not get along. I did not anticipate, but it was an error at my end. But I usually I was taking a bit of not much time, but a bit of time just to make sure I would have the right people coming to me. Because when you have a supervisor, ideally there is chemistry. Ideally, you are a team. You are a tandem. Ideally, like I said early on, the supervisor is like a parent, like a coach for you, and is there for you, is helping you, is advising you, is supporting you. And what also happens, very often happens, is when the supervisor becomes your confidant. Supposedly, your supervisor is the person you should trust the most. So supposedly, the supervisor is the person to whom you can share, so with whom you can share your concerns, your doubts, your problems, be they academic or not academic. And here, I can share an experience. I had, years ago, I had a doctoral student who was the managing director of a bank, of a large bank. So everybody was flattering her. Nobody was really telling her the truth, and nobody was really daring to contradict her. So she never had an occasion to really be challenged. And she called me one day, and she told me, well, I'm really anxious. I need advice on work-related matters. I said, okay, go for it. And she said, here's the problem. My bank has been taken over by a new majority stockholder, a Chinese stockholder, and they told me, we were the 23rd of December, they told me, you must make half of your staff redundant before the 1st of January, before next year. And she said to me, I do not know how to get out of there. I do not know how I can deal with this situation where on the 24th of December, I have to tell half of my staff that they must go, that they will not return after the Christmas break. She said, I'm stuck and I cannot do anything. And of course, this has implications. I cannot work on the thesis. Well, do not worry about the thesis. The problem is elsewhere. But she needed someone to talk to. I was not able to really give a good piece of advice, but at least I was there, and it was reassuring for her, knowing that the supervisors here can listen, can ask questions, maybe help, maybe not. So your supervisor is really the person you should trust. Likewise, I had another student. I do not think she's here tonight, but maybe. If you're here, I hope you will not be mad at me for sharing this story. I have a student who also, at some point, it was same thing. It was Christmas. Another two stories. One student who called me, it was Christmas. I think it was Christmas Eve. And she called me and said to me, well, I do not know if I'm right sharing this with you now, but here is what's happening. I've been sexually assaulted, and I do not know what to do. I was sexually abused, and she said, I think it can be called a rape. And I have nobody to whom I can talk. I cannot even talk to my parents. They would not understand, etc. So she called me, and so we spoke for 2 hours, and then I suggested she should go to the police, she should lodge a complaint, and I said to her that if she needs support, then after the Christmas break I can go with her or someone else, and if she needs psychological support, I could also recommend people, so professionals. I did what I could without pretending to take someone else's job. But you are a confidant, so you know you can trust your supervisor. And the other story, so the third story, was with another student who, same thing, it was, the Christmas break is always, I'm sorry for laughing, the Christmas break is always rich, emotionally rich. Years ago, I had a student who called me again between Christmas and New Year, and I was supervising her master's thesis, and she told me, I've got a big problem at work. My manager, my direct manager, she does not like me, which is not a problem in itself, but it's not a problem itself, but my direct manager, she is sort of harassing me. And I discovered, so she explained to me that, or I did my research, and the direct manager was just a young graduate, another woman, young graduate from a different business school, not very comfortable with her role, and she was not inviting her to meetings, then critiquing her for having missed meetings, for having missed deadlines or whatsoever. So it was typical for harassment or toxic management. And it appeared that her manager was very worried that my student would be better than her and that she would take on her role. And my student suffered, and she had nobody to talk to. So she called me, we spoke, and I did what I could. Honestly, it was not enough. I did listen to her, did give some advice, but she needed to talk at least. And she was a bit relieved to know that she was not alone, that she was understood and supported. So just to say that there's something special between the supervisor and the student in terms of trust and stuff. So, what, Peter, did I answer more your question? Okay, so I do not know. I'll continue, and I'll continue looking at the chat. So there is something else I wanted to say, which is probably I realize how challenging students can be. Well, it's what is challenging is that students might have many questions, and in the first place relating to their academic work. And as a supervisor, your primary role is to be there for their academic work. But if, as a supervisor, you take your role seriously, that is, if you make yourself available for your students, if you advise them, if you help them be independent, because I do believe that the purpose, the whole thing, is to make students be independent so that in the future they can continue on their own. So there's a metaphor I really like, and I'm sorry for the digression, but there's a metaphor I really like. When I was at the headship of the Grenoble École de Management doctoral school, for 7 months I had my forerunner on the role next to me, and I felt like a toddler learning how to ride a bicycle, but with the little 2 wheels on the side, and it was very comfortable. I really loved it, having the 2 little wheels on the side. And when my forerunner totally stepped down, I thought, well, but will I still be able to ride this bicycle without the little wheels? Because it was very comfortable. I said, oh yes, you will. So here, that's exactly the same thing. Enabling it, so being here, so you've got the little wheels in the back, but then enabling you to then ride your bicycle without those two wheels, without the two little wheels. And this is the primary role of the supervisor. And then once this role is accepted as such between the students and the supervisor, and when there is a mutual trust, mutual esteem, then you can also speak of more personal things, more personal matters that can be work-related, that can be family-related, that can be others, like my student who had gone through sexual abuse. It was personal matter. So it is not exactly that students are challenging per se. We should not forget that a student is a person, and a person with a human condition. And as the supervisor, you are then more than just the professor. You are there in this role, but not just. And this is where it can be challenging, but this is also where it is very interesting. For instance, I have another doctoral graduate who so he graduated, can't remember, 2 years ago, I think, and he invited me to his wedding. I could not attend, unfortunately. So the wedding was in Azerbaijan, and the deadline was short, too short for me to get a visa. So I could not attend. But he invited me to his wedding. I also had some doctoral students or past students who sent me a gift for my own wedding years ago, or some students, former students who sent me a card on my birthday, and I do the same, vice versa. So it's also something that reminds afterwards. And because there is this mutual trust and esteem from the onset. So when you say that students are challenging, they can be challenging when let's say mainly academically, if you feel that that they're not receptive to your advice, or if you feel that they do not really understand what you're trying to say. And at some point, when you are confronted with the same questions, you try to answer, or you're trying to help, and you see that the student either does not understand or does not want to do otherwise, or whatever, then at some point you might lose your patience. At some point you can think, oh, this is annoying, or I'm really upset. This happens, but fortunately, thank God, not too often. No, most of the time it is not too challenging. Actually, it's, challenging, of course, but not a nuisance at all. That's it. But there's something I wanted to say, which could be a sort of a conclusion. I wrote years ago. Last year, I think. Yeah, 1.5 years ago. I wrote a post on LinkedIn where which had quite a bit of success, many views and reactions, which was on styles of supervisors. And I identified 3 styles of supervisors. I identified the sign was with a traffic light. So the visual was a traffic light. You had at the top, the red was distant. So the distant supervisor. This means the supervisor who does not really respond to emails, the supervisor who gives loose directions and considers that a good student is a student who can supervise him or herself. A good student is an independent student who does not really need me. So the supervisor remains at a certain distance, does not respond too fast, does not commit him or herself too much, interactions are minimal, etc. Not really my style, you understood. But there are a number of such supervisors. The second one, which was the yellow or orange traffic light, is the directive supervisor. Here it's the supervisor telling you exactly what to do. You must do this, you must do that. Oh, when you do this, you must ask this question. This takes you to this, to that, blah, blah, blah. And here are the deadlines, and here's the timetable. Do it. And checking regularly that you are actually doing what was ordered, what you were told to do. And then you've got the third one. Well, in French and in English, it would not be exactly the same word. In English, I would say the determined one. And in French, I would say disponible. The determined one is the one who, like I said, is doing what I've been trying to do for the past 20 years. That is the one available here to help, to listen, to ask questions, to help you arrive at your own answers, etc. And likewise, you've got those three types of students. Students who need distant supervision, who do not want much of an intrusion in their work or in their ideas. They think they know what they want to do, where they want to go, etc. You've got students who need directions and who need to be taken by the hand, who are not really independent or do not dare to be independent. And you've got students who can be independent, but also are happy to have someone who can be sort of a sparring partner, a good sparring partner. And the big challenge for a school is to match areas of academic interest and personalities, and it is a difficult equation. It is really a difficult equation, and yeah, this is the equation I've always tried to not say to solve, but to take into consideration when I was matching students and supervisors. And I can confess one thing, which is that my style has always worked, except in one case, one situation. So I have supervised, not sure how many, but probably 200 or 300 master's students in the past 20 years, and about 15 or 17, I can't remember exactly, doctoral students. And my style has not worked in one case. One student, so two cases. One is this student who decided to shift for a different supervisor and then shifted. And the other one was a student who was who needed both a sparring partner and a directive person. And I could not do both. I did not understand this in the first place, and I could not do both. So at the end of the day, she was unhappy and she failed. And I felt a bit responsible for this, because apparently I misunderstood her needs That's it. And something else which surprised me, and I was really in shock when I heard this. It was another story with a student who who failed her master's thesis once, and then for the second year when she had to retake it, she was still with me. And some day after she failed for the first time, we had a candid, an honest talk, and I said to her, "Well, honestly, what you wrote was rubbish. Did you take me for a fool or whatever?" And she said, No. She said, "No, there was a big thing. I had a big, how did she say it? I had a big blocking against you." I said, "Okay, tell me more." She said, "Yes, you. When I saw your resume, I thought you are only academically qualified and interested in you're not empathetic, you're not able to be a human person." So she said, "I was really blocked. I could not talk to you. And when I had problems, you were the last person I would have dared to talk to." I thought, oh my gosh. And then, well, she realized then that well, I'm a human being, and I helped her as much as I could, so she passed. But just to say that there was one big failure with the student where I misunderstood what she needed. There was this sort of misunderstanding of who I am by the student, of whom I accidentally over impressed. And there was this case of a doctoral student who decided to shift for someone more directive than I am. But I'm quite happy because it is, let's say, 3 out of 300 or something. That's 1% unsuccess. I think it is reasonable. But all this to say that the supervisor is supposedly the person with whom you have a special relationship, and the person with whom you then keep in touch. Your supervisor is someone who then can write recommendations for you, someone who can make a call for you, someone who can introduce you to other people for work, but not just for work. Your supervisor, so very often there is a friendship that then occurs as you get to know each other. So if it is for a master's thesis, most of my students have forgotten about me, and that's life, that's normal. I'm not shocked, I'm not disappointed, that's normal. But a number of them are still in touch with me, and I'm happy with that. And sometimes they ask for advice, sometimes I can call them when I have another student needing advice or whatsoever. So it's your own network connections. And like I said, then some become friends, and it's always good. It's a human relationship, interpersonal relationship. So that's why it's something which should not be a burden when you're a student. Your dissertation, so your master's thesis or a doctoral dissertation, doctoral journey, all this is not just studies, not just going for a degree. It is an experience, a life experience, which should as much as possible remain as good memories in your life. And this requires that you establish good relations with your supervisor from the onset. And of course, it's also a school responsibility making this happen. So I've shared for tonight what I think was useful to mention, and I hope that I really hope that I answered your your question for Peter. And if there are any other questions, please feel free to ask. And if not, then thank you very much again for being here tonight. I wish you a lovely evening, and I'll be back next week. Not sure just yet what exactly I will discuss, and should any of you have ideas or suggestions based on what you think could be especially relevant at the time, or if you know people who might like joining, who might like sharing experiences, or who might have questions, those live sessions are really for everybody who might have questions, who might want to have a conversation, a relaxed conversation on their studies, on their thesis, dissertation, or whatsoever. So I'm happy you appreciate those insights. They are meant to be helpful indeed. So I wish you all a lovely week, and see you next Saturday then. So bye to all.